episode 8. I have survived much worse than this. What's good? It's your boy Icon back, and we're going over some more Batwoman. So this episode starts where it starts with Ryan and Alice. They're both writing letters to Kate. And Alice's letter is basically, well, Ryan's letter, she's just like, because she knows she's dying, like she's trying to get the Desert Rose, and she needs the Desert Rose, but she's running on borrowed time, like she's almost out of life force. So in the event that she doesn't make it, or she does make it, I guess, she writes a letter to Kate, and she's just like, hey, Kate, I just wanted to thank you for giving me the strength and the courage to put on the bat suit and be the Batwoman and do what I have to do for truth and or justice. Alice's letter, on the other hand, she's more like, dear Kate, I hate your guts. You locked me in Arkham. I can't wait to kill you. She was like, you were supposed to save me, and instead, like, I'm the one that turned you into a hero, and I will have my revenge. So that's where both of them are at with the whole thing. Ryan, in a desperate attempt, I guess to like ease the pain, she goes on YouTube and comes up with like this concoction. It'll give her a boost of adrenaline. It'll keep her alive for a little bit, but Mary told her, she said that if you do take it, it'll also accelerate the process, and you'll have less time, than you would have normally. So they're kind of like struggling to see like, whether or not she should take it. So then she's just like, well, ask Luke, what does Luke think? And then we cut to Luke because he's at the Crows and he's talking to Sophie. He tells Sophie that, because the thing is, now that the Crows know where Kate is, they're going to go to court, like Sophie and Jacob, they're going to go to Coriander to try to find Kate. So Luke is just like, hey, listen, when you go down there, I also need you to pick up a Desert Rose because Batwoman's dying and we need the Desert Rose in order to save Batwoman. So, they go down there, Sophie tells the commander, she's like, we have to get a Desert Rose, and he's like, why are you working with Batwoman? and then the two of them get jumped. Sophia's minions beat them up because Sophie had the body cam. And Luke, Mary, and and I was about to call her Javicia. Luke, Mary, and Ryan were watching the body cam, so they watched when Sophia's minions abducted both of them and dragged them to Coriander. So Ryan's whole thing now is she's like, well, my only chance of getting the Desert Rose just got snatched up, so she's like, I might as well just go to Coriander myself, and just get the Desert Rose myself and try to save everybody. So she takes the shot. She gets the boost that, she gets like the adrenaline boost that she needs. But Luke and Mary are very careful to tell her, like, listen, don't use too much energy because the quicker you burn that serum out of your system, like the quicker it'll speed up the process. So then Luke gets her a flight on some random plane. And this was pretty funny because when she was basically on a plane that had like animals and like livestock on it. Ryan was freaking out because she's never been on an airplane before. That was the first time she's been on a plane. And, and then she was just like, oh, are there no better accommodations? Besides like sitting in the back with, with the livestock. And then Mary's just like, yeah, that's why I keep saying we need a bat plane. And then Luke is just like, yeah, I'll get right on that along with the bat boat. And then he tells her, he's like, you got to jump out of the plane and you got to land on the island, but be careful because you don't want to land in the ocean. And then Mary's just like, isn't there like shark repellent like in the belt? And then he's just like, no, because that would be stupid. And they were making like, those were 3 references to the old Adam West Batman, like the bat boat, the bat plane, and the bat shark repellent, that Adam West used in one of the episodes. But also, the thing that's funny to me isn't there actually, I don't know about a bat boat, but isn't there actually a bat plane? Like, and and I think I said this once, in an older Batwoman review, where the Bat team operates, where Ryan, Luke, and Mary operates. That's not the Batcave. That's not the actual Batcave. The actual Batcave is under Wayne Manor, where Tommy Elliott was partying at, when he had Bruce Wayne's face. So the 3 of them aren't even operating out of the real official Batcave, which is why the Batmobile looks the way it does. The actual Batmobile that we all know, like the actual Batmobile look that we're all familiar with, it's in Wayne. It's underground Wayne, like under Wayne Manor. So. So for all we know, there is a bat jet. Like there's a bat plane. There could be a bat boat, but like I said, but it's not going to be in Wayne Tower. If anything, it'll be under Bruce's house. So she jumps out the airplane. She lands on Coriander, Coriana, and she sees the Desert Rose field. Before she has a chance to snatch up one of the flowers, Sophia's goons run up on her. They beat her ass, and then they drag her to Sophia. Sophia's talking to Alice. Alice had brought Sophia, Ocean's body. So so she has the body, and then she's just like, all right, now give me Kate. And then Sophia's just like, do you even want to kill your sister? And then she's like, of course I want to kill my sister. She's like, but are you really sure? Because you want to kill your sister because she has the love that you wish you had for yourself. But once you kill her, that she's like, those same people that love your sister will turn on you as they've always done. So now it's like she's trying to get in Alice's head. And then they drag Batwoman into the room, and then she's just like, what is Batwoman doing on my island? And then, Batwoman was just like, yo, I got information, and I'll trade it, I'll trade it for the Desert Rose. And then she's just like, I didn't need your information. And then she's like, you sure about that? Because your boy on the table, you might want to check his skin. You might want to check his skin graph, because that ain't your boy Ocean. So then Sophia, she goes, she checks, she yanks the mask off, and then she's just like, oh, who's this imposter that's not Ocean? And then she takes Alice, and she throws Alice in jail as well. So Alice and Ryan, they're both in the same prison cell now, and they're having a conversation. Alice's whole thing is, why are you even here? She's like, you're supposed to be protecting the streets of Gotham. And then she's just like, I'm here to save Kate. And then she's like, I'm here to kill Kate. And then, Ryan was just like, bitch, you ain't killing Kate. She was just like, you went through all this hoopla, all this drama, and Kate's the only person that you have left in your life. She was like, you're going out of your way to do all this, but you're not trying to kill Kate. You're doing all this because you deep down inside, you really want to save her. And then she was like, you missed me with the bullshit. You ain't really trying to kill no Kate Kane. And then Alice, she's just like, damn, well, you're right. And then she gets all teary-eyed. Sophia shows up, and then she's like, Batwoman, your information was correct. She was like, so because you've provided me with assistance, I'll give you one thing. And then Brian is just like, oh, she's like, let me get Kate and let me get the Desert Rose. And then she was like, you gave me one piece of information, not two, so you can choose one. She's like, do you want Kate Kane or do you want the Desert Rose? And then at that point, because Ryan knew at that point after having the conversation, Alice wasn't really going to kill Kate, she was just like, bitch, I take the Desert Rose. So they drag Alice. So then she's like, all right, done. She's like, you have your Desert Rose. And then she drags Alice out of the thing, and she brings her back upstairs. Now, earlier they said that they found Ocean boarding a plane to Rome. Right after Ryan basically spilled the beans that the person on the table wasn't Ocean, Sophia found Ocean like that. They dragged Ocean's, and when Ocean came in, I was like, wait, how many days have gone by? I was like, has it been a couple of days? Because I know y'all just ain't snatch Ocean within 1 hour of Ryan telling y'all that he jumped on a plane to Rome and he was about to leave. So that was television convenience at its finest. So Ocean's there, Alice is there, Sophia's there, and then Ocean, he has his hands tied up, he's tied up, and then Sophia is just, she gives Alice a knife, and she's like, go ahead and kill Ocean, and I will give you your sister back. And then Ocean made up a good point. He was just like, first of all, he was like, I wasn't the one that set you up. He was like, I wasn't the one that tried to drive a wedge, between you and Alice. I'm not the one that killed Kate. I'm not the one that did the plane crash thing. He was like, yo, you got the wrong person. Then he looked at Alice, and he was just like, first of all, is it really worth killing me just to kill your sister? He was like, if you really wanted revenge on your sister that bad, just leave her here on the island. That's like the ultimate revenge. And then, Alice thought about it some more, and then she was just like, yeah, she gave him a hug, and she was just like, no, but I don't want to kill my sister anymore. And she took the knife and she stabbed Ocean in the chest, and then Ocean died and hit the floor. So then she took Alice to, she grabbed Alice, she took Alice, to the chamber room where Kate was. And instead of Kate Kane, when she brought her in the room was full of a bunch of necklaces that had the jewel on it that both Alice and Kate shared as children. And then Sophia was just like, haha, silly girl. She was like, your sister was never on the island. I just used that information to draw you out so I could have my revenge. And then, and then she was just like, but someone did set me up. And then she looked at her minion, Aliana, whatever the girl name was. And then she was just like, you set me up to, she's like, you set me up, you killed the Wonderland gang. You wrote the letter, you brought Alice back into my life after I tried to forget her. But she was like, but your majesty, she was like, you didn't forget her. She was like, you were in love. I was trying to help you sever the ties. And she was like, no, you wanted to watch me burn like a fool. And then she took the same knife that, she took the knife out of Ocean's body, and then Ocean woke up and popped up. Because what she said was, the knife was actually soaked in Desert Rose cure. So although the knife, although Beth took the knife, stabbed Ocean, and killed Ocean, the moment you pull the knife out and all that Desert Rose, gets wiped off of the knife and into his system, he'll wake up again. He'll pop back up and wake up again. I feel like this Desert Rose has Lazarus Pit energy in it. So then she used the same knife that I guess still had Desert Rose on it, and she stabbed her minion, Tatiana, for betraying her. And then Tatiana hit the ground, and then somebody was just like, when I'm over being mad at her, then I'll pull the knife out so she can wake back up again. And then she told her minions, she was just like, oh, this is, she was like, oh, take Alice and get this trash off of my island. And then they went to go drag Alice, and throw Alice off the island. Sophie and Commander Kane, they were locked up. And when Batwoman had parachuted, out of the sky, she dropped an EMP onto the island that knocked out all electronics. Commander Kane and Sophie, like, they were being held by electronics, so because of the EMP, their electronic handcuffs broke. They got out of the cell. They were running through the forest. While they were running through the forest, Sophie had said to the commander, she was just like, like the commander was just like, oh, so you're working with Batwoman. Who's Batwoman? And she was like, I'm not working with Batwoman, sir, but she's like, but on some real shit though, she was like, there's really no difference between like Batwoman or us, because she was like, we pretend like we abide by the law, but those same two people a couple of episodes back that ran kick-ass over with that car, she was just like, they would have gotten locked up instead of just like suspended or fired. She was like, you keep going after Batwoman, saying that Batwoman's above the law, but she was like, technically we are too, and it's time that we start recognizing that. And then they ended up finding an airplane. Commander Kane, he was just like, go, I'll fix the airplane, go find my daughter, So then Sophie went looking for Kate. So then at that point, when Alice's goons were dragging her off the island, she beat up the goons, because remember, she was trained by Ocean, so she knows how to fight. she beat up the goons. She took a torch. She took like a long torch, and she darted that shit into the desert rose field, and she burnt up all the desert rose flowers, and she killed the entire desert rose crop. And then Sophia saw it, and she was like, no, my roses, and then she started crying. And then Alice was like, see, now neither one of us got anything, bitch. And then Alice ran. I don't even know how Alice is gonna get off the island, but Alice basically dipped after that. Back in Gotham, Luke and Mary, they were monitoring the comms with Ryan, but once the EMP went off, the comms went dead. Just as that moment, a Sophia minion came into Wayne Tower and attacked Luke and attacked Mary. Now, I understand why Mary was like running for cover and like cowering in fear. And Luke did too, to an extent, but I'm just like, bro, like, weren't you doing kickboxing, like in season 1? There was an episode in season 1 where he was literally like doing. I was like, don't you know how to fight? And then in the episode where he found his dad's killer, he had the hoodie on and he had the gun and he was all big and bad and he was like, yo, why'd you kill my dad, B? And it's like, now all of a sudden I'm like, bro, I'm gonna need a little bit more courage, from Luke going forward, So they knocked the girl out, with a lamp, and then the girl had the thing was, earlier Ryan had given Mary her potted plant, her flower, and she told Mary, she was like, listen, I need you to watch this for me. And she's like, if I don't make it, I want you to take care of this, because this is all I have left of my mom. When the minion came into the table, Ryan's flower fell on the floor, and then when they knocked her out and she fell on top of the flower. Now, I guess when she fell on top of the flower, the girl was bleeding, and her blood got into the soil that the potted plant and the flower was in. The minion ended up waking up, and then when the minion woke up, both Luke and Mary, like, they were just like, oh shit, like, she's waking up, let's get out of here. And as she was running out, Julia came back. So I said before, I was like, what happened to Julia? Because the last time we saw Julia, she got stabbed in the side by Alice in the Jeep. So Julia's back now, and then she threw a knife at the minion. She killed the minion, and she's like, does anyone want to tell me why I just killed one of Sophia's minions? And then they told her the whole story, and then Julia said that while she was gone, she was investigating Kate's death, and then she's like, some colleagues of mine, they found some body parts, like down by the Bloodhaven Ocean, and then she was like, they ran the DNA, and the DNA belongs to Kate, and Kate is actually dead, I'm so sorry. And then like Luke and Mary started crying or whatever. So then now we're back on the island. Sophie shows up, she sees the burnt desert rose field, and then she looks over and she sees Batwoman. Batwoman's there, and she's just like, yo, the roses are burnt. She was like, that was my only chance. She's like, basically, I'm done. And then Sophie, she sat next to her and she apologized. She was like, I'm sorry for giving you such a hard time, like, because you were in Kate. And then, Ryan was just like, hey, listen, can you just sit with me? Because, she was like, I don't want to die alone. And then, like, she sat there, like, she put her head on Sophie's shoulders, and the two of them were together. And then after that, Ryan had actually turned on the bat specs, because I guess like the EMP wore off. And then the feed, she was able to transmit the feed from what she was seeing to back to Wayne Tower. So when Mary and Luke and Julia saw that the flowers were on fire, they were just like, damn, that was our only hope of saving Ryan. But then Mary looked over at the window and she noticed something, and we didn't see what she had noticed yet. So then so then Luke called Sophie, and then he was just like, yo, are you with Batwoman? And she was like, yeah, she's right here. She was like, yo, tell her to get her black ass back to Gotham right now, because he was like, yo, we have a desert rose and we found a cure. And again, they said in the last episode that like women's blood is what births the desert rose. I don't know how desert rose seeds got into Ryan's plant. I don't know if just the magical blood of the women warriors just birthed those flowers in general, but basically what they're going to tell you is the blood from the minion that, that Julia killed, when her blood got onto Ryan's plant, that blood birthed like a new desert rose flower. So now that they do have the flower, they can use that flower to save, to save Ryan's life. So now Sophie got to bring her ass back, back to Gotham. And the way they were making it sound like, because obviously Coriana's not next to Gotham, but the way they keep making it sound was like Ryan only had like 2 hours to live. So I'm pretty sure they're not going to get back to Gotham in 2 hours, but for the sake of TV, I guess they're going to make it in time, because we already saw Ryan in the coming attractions for next week. We already saw Ryan, so we know that they give her the Desert Rose. But like I said, it was just like the time frame. At the very least, they could have been like, yo, she only got 12 hours left, which would have, which would realistically gave them more time to get back to Gotham. So and then like I said, that's how that ended. And then we got like one little end credit scene where we're still in the streets of Gotham, and the camera pans on a building which I guess belongs to Black Mask, because Black Mask was supposed to be a villain, at some point during the season. And then we go downstairs, like in the basement, and then there's a woman downstairs in the basement tied up with a mask over half of her face, and she has the Kate Kane Alice necklace around her neck, and she's like shivering and everything, and it's actually Kate Kane. So Kate's been in Gotham this whole time, and I guess she's been tortured, and like, she's been locked up and tortured by the Black Mask. And then we get the news report that the CW has recast Ruby Rose, and there's going to be a new woman that's going to play Kate Kane. So this is both cool and confusing at the same time, because it now makes more sense why we never dropped the Kate Kane storyline. And I'm fine, and I'm fine with that. But Ryan also did say earlier in the episode, she was just like, so once we rescue Kate, she was like, so what's going to happen to me? She's like, do I just go back to living in my van? Like, does Kate go back to be a Batwoman? And then there was the whole thing about Julia saying that they found body parts. So when they do find Kate, this new actress that's playing Kate Kane, when they finally do rescue Kate Kane from Black Mask, is Kate going to have all of her body parts? Is she going to be whole? Is she not going to be whole? Is she brainwashed? Is she working for Black Mask? Like, I don't know what the deal is. Or maybe because the conversation about what happens when we find Kate, I'm pretty sure Luke thought about that. Luke thought about what they're going to do when Kate comes back, because Luke always felt like Kate would return. Maybe this whole time Luke's been working on another costume for Ryan, So if this new actress who got recast to play Kate Kane, and because it could also be a situation where they could rescue Kate from Black Mask, and then the new actress could just be like, hey, I've been locked up, for like weeks or whatever. She was like, I don't want to do no crime fight. I just want to go somewhere and take a vacation. And then she just like, passes the torch to to Ryan and tells Ryan to continue to be Batwoman. Or she'll re-pick up the mantle. She'll be Batwoman going forward, and Luke will just build Ryan a new suit. Ryan will become her own hero that isn't Batwoman, and they can both take on the streets of Gotham together. Or you can use Ryan's character as a floating superhero throughout the CW TV shows. So it can work either way. I just want to know the story about why Black Mask got like that's the whole thing. But whether or not Kate has all of her limbs when we find her will tell the story about where they might go at the end of the season. But again, it could go a bunch of different ways. Hell, for all we know, Ryan could turn into Batwing, and Luke will just stay on comms, and Luke won't get the Batwing suit, and then people are going to complain about that probably. But as I said, I'm good either way. But that was it. So thank you for tuning in. Like I said, this was episode 8. So I guess the next episode is the mid-season finale technically, because episodes 8 or 9 are usually the mid-season finale, although we're not getting a crossover. So we'll see if Batwoman takes a break after next week's episode. But there's damn sure a lot of intrigue here. You recasted a new Kate Kane. You still got Ryan as Batwoman. You put Black Mask in the mix. Like, there's a whole bunch of parts. Like, Batwoman's really good right now. Like, Batwoman's really good. So I'm gonna keep watching it. I'm gonna continue to keep watching it, and I hope you guys enjoy it and continue to watch it with me. So thank you for tuning in. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about the new Kate Kane, about the new Batwoman situation. What do you think is going to happen when both of them are in the same place at the same time? And how do you think it's going to end? Check out the Tacos and Geek podcast that I do with Gotham Geek Girl Nadia, Justin, and Sean. We did a podcast over the weekend for the Justice League Snyder Cut. Once that podcast pops up on YouTube, I'll post a link in the description so everybody can watch the full podcast. I may also post the group discussion on my channel specifically with just the Snyder Cut conversation. conversation. Hit me up on Twitter, on Instagram. Definitely, leave a comment on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. We got more stuff coming up because we're doing Falcon and Winter Soldier for you Marvel fans. We got the Flash that's coming back. We got Superman and Lois. Black Lightning's on a break right now, but Supergirl's coming back next week, and we're gonna do that too. So take care, guys. And for Batwoman, until next time, I'm out this bitch.